Hello everyone, I am the Shaz here with my School Star Big Live guide. Yes, for some reason, I thought I read the acronym as Super Big Live before, but apparently I'm just an idiot, as I reread the katakana and realized how amazingly wrong I was. For this video, we'll be going over the songs for this first iteration of SBL, some of the song mechanics specific to the event, the MVP categories and how to build your teams for them, accessory setups, and which shop items I prioritize over everything else. First things first, let's talk about how the event itself operates. You get 3 plays per day on each of the songs in School Star Big Live for a total of 9 plays per day. Before you start playing any of those songs, however, do make sure you have a stable connection in-game. If you happen to get disconnected after the lobby fills up, you will get your ticket back, but you will be timed out at first for 5 minutes, then 30 minutes if it happens a second time, then finally 24 hours if it happens a third time. The first batch of songs is Arashi no Naka no Koi Dakara, Genki Zenkai de, and Nemureru Mori no Ikitai na, Kanata's first solo. Now, what are all these MVP titles I've been talking about? The 4 current MVP titles are Overall Song MVP, Highest Voltage, Most SP Skill Uses, and Most Skill Activations. There was a teaser that there may be additional titles, but we haven't even seen them yet on JP, so they won't be coming to Global anytime soon. Each category MVP gets an additional 1500 tokens to use in the SBL shop, which we will cover at the end of the video. Let's start with Arashi, an elegant attribute song with a flat 10% appeal decrease across all cards. All of the appeal chances give you a buff for the next 20 notes after you complete it, so keep that in mind. As far as team building goes, let's break things down by MVP categories. What does a Voltage MVP look like for this song? I wouldn't be surprised at all to see someone try to brute force it with a team of high limit breaks on Nika 1, Dia 1, and Fez Kanata, supported by a bunch of stamina sticks in the backline if they don't decide to run a cleanse card. You could easily get away with this if you have a total stamina over 90k. All of these metrics, however, dictate a Galaxy Whale type of setup, as most of these Voltage MVP types tend to look like. Accessory wise, these setups will have UR brooches on their front line and will fill up their back line with bracelets to cycle SP gauges for additional scoring. SP gauge skill MVPs will always have the same base strategy for most songs in School Star Big Live, of which there are a few ways to go about this. A person trying to achieve this MVP we will call SP cyclers. One build is to go full gauge game, using 3 SP type cards and equipping UR earrings to them. Most likely, the optimal way to build a lineup that looks like this for Arashi would have some combination of Umi 1, Yohane 1, Kotori 3, Yo 3, Ruby 3, and, if you're in a pinch, Chika 3. The second build is one that I usually go for, a double dipping lineup which is 3 SK cards in my main strategy, consisting of 2 SP gauge fillers plus a skill activation rate buffer, enough stamina in the backline to get through the song, and a center 3 that makes full use of this SP cycle strategy. These lineups will have high skill level keychains on their front line with a mix of bracelets and necklaces on their backline. The third build actually just came out recently around the time of this video, and a lot of you global players are probably taking a look at it. It comes courtesy of Koch and her SBL cheese ranking guide. At the top of her SP cheese tier list, she lists Yohane 1, Yo 3, and Pana 2 as her best cards for this strategy, after considering the full kits for every card. I must say, this strategy does work if you have all 3 of these cards. I'll go over this particular lineup a little bit later in the video, in the SBL song playthrough commentary. For strictly skill activations, these teams will also look pretty similar in most SBL songs. Most will probably have a Yohane 3 with a UR keychain attached to every card in that strategy, but after that, it will probably be quite varied depending on the song. Some of the better skill activation rate up cards thus far with SK typing are Koto 2, Nozo 1, and Chika 1. There are also SRs that, if they have a high limit break, can help as well in the backline. These include Fruits Rin, Animal Emma, the initial Karen SR, and Cheerleader Mori. How high will the requirements be to MVP a song category? There isn't a real target number for any of them, as it varies greatly from lobby to lobby, especially for the first iteration of SBL. I've seen lobbies win with about 5 million voltage on a song since everyone was gunning for SP cycling or skill activations, and some lobbies the voltage MVP was over 8 or 9 million. The SP gauge MVPs are normally between around 8 to 12 uses, and the skill activations are normally in the 70s to 80s. These are averages though, so you may have lobbies with scores a lot lower and higher than this. With that in mind, the reason why I'm putting this video out over a month before Schoolstar Big Live is slated to come to the global server is that I want you all to be able to test your lineups in between events. Go into the designated SBL songs and run your lineups for whichever strategies you are looking to MVP for based on your current card pool. This will give you a rough idea on what you can expect to score for each strategy. Now, let's go over the second song, Genki Zenkai Day Day Day. Song gimmick remains the same, base skill activation rate of non-natural attribute cards reduced by 50%, meaning it cannot be cleansed. So how do we attack this song? Well, for the voltage MVP, it's relatively the same. The best chance someone will have for this MVP will have lineups with their scores consisting of a combination of these three: High Limit Break Fest Setsuna, High Limit Break Kanan 1, Max Limit Break Snow Halation Kotori. The healing slot completely depends on how high their stamina is, since non-natural guard cards won't activate their abilities. Most people will end up using the event Umi we recently got to fill out that sustain slot in the front line if they cannot fully tank the song. As for SP Gauge and Skill MVPs, these lineups will revolve around these three main URs: Fest Emma, Fest Yohane, and Kotori 2. We don't have a large pool of natural attribute SK or SP URs, so the strategies will tend to look similar if someone is hard gunning for these MVPs. Some of the potential lineups I can see people using: an SP Gauge cycle lineup of Emma 1, initial SR Kanata in Yoha 3, or an SK lineup of Yoha 3, Koto 2, and initial SR Hanamaru. Most of the SP and skill MVP requirements for this song will be low, so if you have most of the cards I mentioned, I would highly advise going for them. Before we get to the last song, let's take a look at what a full SBL playthrough looks like. Apologies for the video quality, I had to record this from my Twitch VOD as I forgot to record this straight from OBS. For this instance, I'm going to use a pretty extreme example, my last playthrough of Yume no Ippo from my Twitch stream on Friday, July 3rd. Here's the lineup I used for this particular playthrough, which was testing out a strategy based on the tier list for SBL from Koch. The only notable limit breaks are the Rin 2 in my center 3, which is limit break 3, and my Yohane 2, which is limit break 4. My frontline accessories are pretty garbage though, as I only have 2 UR keychains at mid skill level. The rest of my accessories are bracelets, with the exception of the UR brooch in Cheerleader Kanan strategy. Okay, so as we start this song here, you see my center 3 maximized for this SP cycling strategy, and you can see on the left the amount of times these SP gauge fill skill activations are occurring. I am going through this to try and just grab SP gauge cycles. Now, as you can see, there are the regular skill activation gimmick notes. Then, in addition to that, you will be seeing shortly extra notes that have a triangle around them that are extra gimmick notes that occur during the song. And I'm trying to maximize the whenever I cycle my SP gauge so that I am not wasting the extra bonus that you get from SP gauge uses. And as right here, SP gauge fill note, that is a gimmick note that only appears in Super Big Live. There is a shield variety note, and there is a skill activation note. So a lot of them, the timings are very random, and you don't know if you're going to get them or not on a particular playthrough. It's just like in SIF, where you get special notes that only happen if somebody else reaches a certain requirement. We don't really know what those requirements are, but hopefully in the future we will know what causes them. As you can see, I'm cycling through here, not really caring about my stamina because I know I don't have any healers in my front line. I am just trying to cycle through SP gauges. And another SP gauge fill note at the very end of the song to max out and cycle through my last SP gauge. Now, in this particular run, after we get through the loading screens, you will be able to see that my Yo 3 had 27 skill activations, so just under a 50% rate, which is fantastic because when you run two SP cards like Yoho 1 and Yo 3 with Pana 2, there is a slight downtick in the skill activations. But especially for Yume no Ippo, where there are multiple of these gimmick notes that come along, where they bump up your skill activation, they help a lot. And as we can see here, this is the skill activation screen. 99, I won the SP gauge cycles with 16, and the voltage winner at 9.05 million. Then the overall room MVP, who came in scoring 3rd in skill activations, 7th in gauge uses, and 2nd in voltage. The last song for the first SBL is Nemureru Mori no Ikitai, Kanata's first solo. Song gimmick is the standard minus 10% appeal for off attribute cards, so if you're gunning for a voltage MVP, you're going to want a cleanser to maximize your score. I can easily see a scoring strategy consisting of max limit break Setsuna 1, max limit break Yo 2, and either a Ruby 1, Mari 3, or even a high limit break Yo 1 as the sustain card. LE1 can work if you're in a pinch, but I prefer the previous 3 cards listed over LE1. As for SP cycling, it will mirror Arashi, with most players strictly opting for cards like Yoho 1, Yo 3, Pana 2, Train Nico, and Fez Emma. Likewise, skill activations will also look similar, with most MVPs having some frontline combination of Yoha 3, Chico 1, Koto 2, and Nozo 1. They will also, most likely, have a primary backline to switch to that gives buffs upon subunit switch, so cards like Initial SR Yohane, Snohalation Maki, and Borarara Umi. As for the last strategy, you'll probably see something like Snohalation Rin, Fruits Rin, Initial SR Kasumi, Maki 1, cards with live show actives that only give a small incremental increase to skill rates from AC start to the end of the live. This is assuming that you have enough stamina to clear the song without failing any appeal chances. And that does it. Most of your team building prep for SBL is complete. Your last, and probably most daunting task, insight farming. If you have cards that you know are going to be cornerstones of whatever strategy you decide to run, now is the time to start using those training tickets and insight pins. What kind of insights do you want to farm for? First, I would ask you to mock up what your SBL lineups would look like. Find out who your frontliners are going to be, then farm the appropriate insights. Going for voltage? Time to start farming for those appeal plus medium group insights on your backliners and the appropriate insights on your frontliners, not just for now, but that you would like to keep on them for a while. Going for SP cycles or skill activations? Time to start farming for the skill activation plus skills on all your cards, and make sure to get synergetic ones for your frontline in case you are unable to get skill activation plus medium same strategy. As for your backliners, look at the skill activation plus medium group insights. If you don't end up farming that one, make sure you are hanging on to the skill activation plus insights that synergize well with your frontline. As I mentioned in my training and insight skills guide, there is no definitive secondary fits-all skill for your frontliners if you can't get the same strategy insight. Make sure to look at the cards you want to run and find the commonalities for them and keep the insights that help you the most. let's start wrapping things up by going over cards that you may have that are beneficial for this event but normally wouldn't ever see the light of day in your normal lineups. First, let's start with the URs. In the Tap and Live Show active category we have Nozo 1, Koto 2, Pana 2, Nico 2, and Yohane 3. In the Just Tap actives category we have Chika 1, Chika 3, Yohane 1, Rin URs 1 and 3, Yo 3, and Emma 1. Mind you, some of these cards in the Just Tap actives category do have decent live show actives like Yohane 1 and Yo 3, but either have a very low chance to proc or only work for the first 10 or 15 notes at the start of the live, which somewhat limits the card's total abilities overall. As for SRs, with the exception of Cheerleader Kanan, you're probably only going to want to run these cards if either you're strictly running these cards for a subunit switch strategy, you don't have any more viable URs that will help your MVP strategy, or the cards are close to max limit break. These cards are also being included for both their beneficial tap and live show actives. If they lacked one of these skills that are useful, I didn't include them. These cards include, for SK typing, Fruits Rin, Cheerleader Yohane, Snow Halation Maki, and Snow Halation Rin. For SP typing is just Fruits Maki and Cheerleader Kana, included strictly for SP cycle strategies because her live show active is busted good for this. The only voltage SR you'll ever consider running is a max limit break Snow Halation Kotori, and only if you're gunning for the voltage MVP on Genki Zenkai Day. Now, you've gotten all these tokens from your playthroughs. What should you spend them on? Personally, the first thing I grab are the regular gacha tickets. At the very worst, you will limit break a lot of your rare cards, which you can then tile and get gems. After buying these 10 tickets however, I don't really buy anything else, as these tokens are permanently in your inventory and you can save them for the next time SBL comes along. If you don't have enough to buy all 10, buy as many as you can and save the rest of the tokens. The only other thing I would consider getting from the shop would be the candies, if I am looking to tier an event in the near future. And that concludes my guide to School Star Big Live. Hopefully, this video will give you enough time to prepare for this very fun event. If you would like to support my work, do me a favor and share this video with some of your fellow Love Live All-Stars players to give them another content creator to watch. Also, feel free to hit the subscribe button here on YouTube, come hang out in my Twitch stream over at twitch.tv/IamTheShaz, and join the brand new Discord server I made for said Twitch channel. So brand new in fact, I haven't even filled up my emote slots yet. The link is in the description below. Finally, big thank you to my Twitch subs, Minomone, 86Romy, and Ghoststalker_88. Thanks for watching everyone, take it easy, I'll see you guys next time.